Hello and welcome to the Afro-Dominion Show. My name is Freeman Singirankabo, and thank you so very much for tuning into our program today. Those of you joining us live, especially if you're joining us from all our various platforms, welcome, be it radio station, television station, or social media. We are truly grateful for the opportunity for you to come and join us today. In particular, if you are tuning in live from social media, welcome. Be sure to subscribe. Share and follow our programs. Why? So that anytime we are live, like right now, you can have an opportunity to come and join us live and have a saying in what we are saying or the conversation that we are discussing every single one of the days that you find us on air. And I want to let you know, guys, that this conversation is a conversation we have truthfully to you guys. We are absolutely truthful, boldly, and we come with no apologies to each and every one of you. Why? Because the conversation we're having, it's a conversation that we care very deeply about. We also want to let you know that every time you see us here, we literally are driven in the spirit of truth, love, and trust. And these are the benchmarks by which we would hope that each and every one of you guys use as you measure both the validity and the integrity of the content that we get to share with you every single one of the days. We welcome your feedbacks. We welcome anything and everything that you figure or that you find to be helpful, something that we can use to improve the conversation, to improve the program, to improve the information that we get to share with you guys. So be sure to shoot us a message, a feedback if you would, so that we may be able to hang out with you guys to receive the good information that we should be sharing with the rest of our community. And you can use your feedbacks or you can reach us out through our website, www.afrodominion.com. www.afrodominion.com. And with that in mind, guys, I want to give you a huge welcome. And saying that it's quite a humbling experience to be here today and to be presenting to you all. And for those of you who aren't familiar with our show, Afro-Dominion, I want to give you a quick brief info and then we jump right into conversation. So what is Afro-Dominion? Afro-Dominion, it's an idea that inspires others, advocates, encourages, even goes to the extent of helping you take the full dominion of Africa, one nation at a time, by its sons, daughters, and African descendants, all in the interest of African people and the continent, first and foremost, and the rest of the world afterwards. And so the Afro-Dominion Show, it is a show that literally programs, various programs in the interest of African people. Right away, you can find the programs to be inspiring, programs to be advocating on behalf of you, the voiceless brothers and sisters, programs of which encourages you to find a better version of yourself, programs that help you take that full dominion of Africa, one nation at a time, by you, literally sons and daughters, kings and queens of Africa. And we want to make sure that we do all of this in the interest of African people, first and foremost. And we make no apologies about that too, guys. That's how we roll. We do it publicly, and we are absolutely not ashamed of saying that. And with that in mind, guys, we also have various themes that we actually program every single one of the days, and we make sure that our programs are driven based on these themes, so that we can stay focused. For instance, today on Tuesdays, we get to talk about the constitution, law, and constitution, law, and policy review and implementations of African nations, meaning everything is focused on African people and the actual continent. From Monday all the way to Friday, we have various platforms. We have various themes, various programs, but all those programs are literally under the umbrella of a theme on every single day. Make sure you come from 12 to 1:30 if you want to follow us live, and be sure to come and participate. We have Zoom open, and we have various other ways that you can get in touch with us as we discuss. So with that in mind, guys, a huge welcome to each and every one of you. And I'm super excited for today. And let's jump right in it, guys. And today, what are we talking about? The theme for today, or the objectives. It's how far will you go to take back the full dominion of Africa? How far will you go, guys? Some of the leading questions that I want to throw at you as you marinate on it when we do discuss. Are there acceptable sacrifices that you must accept during the journey to take back the full dominion of Africa? And in what ways do we permanently stop feeding the machinery of modern slavery? And what is your role and responsibility in all of this? I love to include this question every single every single time that we have a broadcast, because at the end of the day, you and I are the major factor in everything that we do, in the changes that we want to see. So, how far will you go to take back the full dominion of Africa? Why these questions? Why this question and why these questions right now? Guys, I've been receiving a lot of feedbacks from you all, and you constantly asking, you guys are doing too much. You keep on saying, we are stretched thin. We just don't have any more time to do this. We just can't do that. And it took me back, guys, to thinking about the slavery time frames. And for those of you, I want to just put it in perspective just a little bit. And I want to know your thoughts. Please share your thoughts about this. As we've been reading and as we've been getting some of the testimonies, African slavery started to be a big business from 1400s all the way to the almost to the late 1900s, early 1900s, actually, let me put it that way. So from 1400s to 1900s, that's 500 years, guys. 500 years of kidnapping and enslaving African people. Now, I want you to imagine your family lives in what is now called Angola, okay? And those of you who are not familiar with the African map, Angola is just right underneath of the equator, next to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. So that's one of the biggest places where slaves were being taken. Even the Democratic Republic of the Congo, also they were taking some, some people. They used to call them subjects back in the days. So now picture your family is in Angola, and today you're minding your own business. Your father goes out to look for some food, something to eat for the family. Whatever it is that they had to do, along with maybe some other men in the neighborhood, only to find out or only to realize that that is the very last time that your father will come home. Why? Because there were some foreigners waiting on the shore who are going to literally kidnap him and take him to those ships. So you are accustomed to your father going out in the morning to do whatever it is they did back in those days in 1400, to hunt or find some food. But this time around, the routine that you are accustomed to, it's permanently interrupted. Your father is captured, and the rest of the men in the neighborhood are captured. And not only that, some women are captured as well. And they are taken to these, what seem to be mega ships of the days. And in those ships, there are a human being who looks different than we look. We share no language whatsoever, and we cannot communicate. The only way you are being communicated with, you are just getting beaten. That's the only way that the communication is taking place. So now, From that point on, what's left of your family, you no longer get to see the provider of the house, because you are being taken. You've been already taken as a slave, and you are to be shipped thousands and thousands of miles away. And if you're lucky, you are going to survive the hardship that comes along with the journey, the toughest journey that you can endure. Minding you, the ship that they just thrown, that they are going to throw you in, you are not going to travel first class. You are not going to travel coach. You're going to travel like trees, like potatoes. They're just gonna throw a bunch of you in one space and that's it, because after all, you are animals. Now, between those who are sick, those who are literally fighting so they can get out of that ship, you pretty much are quarreling all the way. You're fussing all the way. You get no food. They don't take care of you. They make sure to beat you up all the way so that you can submit. So now, your family left behind is looking for you. They can find it. But now the word on the street is that there are Mzungu coming over and kidnapping people. But in addition to that, your rival, other rival families or other rival tribes, you also have now quarrel with them, as if they may have actually sold you out. Because let's face it, Mzungu did not just come in your villages. They were being assisted by rival families, rival clans, rival tribes, rival kingdoms. So if they didn't, if you were my rival, oftentimes, if we fight with you, not only we would want to completely render you submissive, but oftentimes also we will sell you as a slave, because slavery was amongst ourselves before Mzungu took over as well. So with that in mind, guys, now the family struggles. Now they decide, let's figure out what to do. Let's figure out what to do. Let's figure out a way to regain our father, to find where the father is, only to find out that they are forever disconnected. From Africa to the Americas, from Africa to Europe, from Africa to South America, from Africa to Australia, to all kinds of other regions across the world. It is something that was not easy. That was almost impossible for an average African to even dare say that we're going after our family members. So the family now completely disconnected. Now those who made it ashore on the other side, they also had they had so much to do. They had so much to fight for. They had so much between culture shock, between them being rendered animals. I mean, all kinds of mistreatment at its very best. At its very best. Those who never complied, they were killed easy. And eventually, the rest of them decided to submit, either death or submission to slavery. The kind of slavery that they've never experienced even in their homeland. So now, at some point, the same people who have now been rendered into slavery, thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away, now they had a decision to make: survival or dying, fighting to go back home. And this time around, there is an ocean between right where they landed to their homeland. And quite frankly, most of them could not easily go back home by themselves. So what happened? What happened? What would you do in that case if it was you? Guys, I want to tell you, we live in the same era today. We live in the same era today. The difference is, you have not been shipped thousands and thousands of miles away, even though some of us, we are literally thousands and thousands of miles away, but we are not in physical shackles. But right now, the same conditions do exist today as I speak to you all. We have slavery, modern slavery today in 2022. So how do we exactly stop this modern slavery, brothers and sisters? Especially now that it's actually, it's been rooted within our families, our villages, our communities, our nations. It's rooted there for at the very least 100+ years. At the very minimum, 100+ years, guys. So how do you unroot a tree that old? How do you cut off all the roots of that tree and bring it down? That's what I really want to talk to you guys about. You may be wondering, why did I go this far? And what's the point? What am I trying to say here? Guys, a lot of you today are so tired. You have said, you talk to me. Hey, I'm tired too. I'm not going to lie to you. All of us, we are tired. We are literally tired. However, picture that someone who's just been kidnapped and turned into a slave. And then you got a family behind. How long are you going to fight to reclaim your freedom? Minding you, for them, not only they were in physical slavery, but everything about them, they were completely subjugated to somebody else. Today, I don't have any physical shackles. But there is a system, a slavery system that I'm still under, that you're still under. So how do you eject yourself out of the slavery system? This is really something that you're going to have to think about yourselves. Why is it that you cannot find the time out of your busy schedule to fight for your families, to fight for that which you deem to be right by you, by your family, by your community, by your nation? We are busy, being busy but not effective. We're selling out from various things. Are there any acceptable sacrifices for you in this journey? Some of you have got some of the greatest jobs. And you say, my family is a priority in everything that I do. Picture that slave who never was a slave, was even a king, a prince, has gone to work and found himself in harm's way, found some kidnappers. They kidnapped you. Today, when you get kidnapped in the United States, you've got all these billboards where they quickly put you in the system 24 hours. And they literally blast your image everywhere. Can you imagine in 1400s a system like that, blasting out all these all these Mzungus coming to kidnap people in Africa? Can you just imagine what that image would look like? Why is it that it was acceptable to just kidnap a bunch of black people in Africa. And it's no consequences at all. We're not talking about just a bunch, millions, and there is zero consequences. But today, you dare kidnap a single one individual. A single individual. And the whole entire system blasts out. What's wrong with us people? So again, there is a huge inequality, all things considered. And that same inequality still exists the same way it existed during the 1400s. Africans, you are still on the very bottom of the bottoms, like it or not. Because you chose to be on the bottom of the bottoms. The same preconditions within these last 500 years are still deeply rooted. So we got to cut off the old tree. We've got to cut off the old mentality, slavery mentality that we have. Which is what's making me asking you, what are the acceptable sacrifices for us to be able to cut off the root of the tree? I'll give you a more visible, a more practical scenario. Let's take, for instance, the program here. Guys, it is so difficult to put together a program. Not only that, the people behind it, even myself as we come forward. For instance, if I get sick, I don't just call out. Now, if I can't really talk, then you're not going to see me. But there's a sacrifice, so much sacrifices associated with what we do. And minding you, we're not just doing it here right now in English. We also do it in other languages. So why is it that I am so adamant to be here? And the rest of the team is so adamant to be here. Monday through Friday in this particular, program. And then we leave here, we go to another program, different language. Monday through Saturday. We're doing this every single day for years to come. Either we're crazy or there's something else going on. Now, it's okay for all of you because we're doing it. You can just clap. We support you and that's it. I want you to think back to that family that just lost a loved one through slavery. Will you just look when the neighbors are looking for their loved ones and you say, we support you, keep on going, keep on going? Or you're going to do a little bit more than that? There's nothing that I would not do to regain freedom. My complete freedom, my family freedom, my community freedom, my nation's freedom. What about you? This life we live, you are not really truly free when the rest of your peers are enslaved. If any one of you, any one of us is still a slave, we are also still slaves. So never mind whether you get a good position, never mind whether this and that is happening for you. If you believe that your neighbor's condition will not affect you and you live right next to each other, you have a lot of growing up to do. So you brothers and sisters, this work, modern slavery, it's real. Modern slavery targets Africa first and foremost. Modern slavery, it's taking roots within Africa. And at the same time, we are attempting to unplug to take the full dominion of Africa. How are we going to do that? First and foremost, we talk about this set of instructions, be it constitution, be it local laws, be it these policies, and what have you. Guys, if you're using a tool that you're not fluent with, that you're not familiar with, what is the likelihood that you are going to be successful with it? You've been borrowing all kinds of tools from foreigners. And you have literally put your own tools on the side. And you've embraced foreigners' tools. No wonder you still lose. Because first and foremost, you do not understand the baseline, the baseline of how these tools function. The basic rules you do not understand. The principles you do not understand. And most of you don't even care. How can you expect to be successful using a tool that you are not familiar with? How can you expect to lead Africa using the tools that you know no knowledge about? This is why they keep on saying that insanity is doing same thing over and over and over and over again, expecting a different result. Guys, for 500 years, for 500 plus years, slavery of your brothers and sisters, your ancestors, has been going 500 years. Foreigners have been enriched, turned into wealthy because of the blood of our ancestors. That wasn't enough. That wasn't enough because they decided in turn, slavery, it's very bad. We look inhumane. So let's stop this whole enslaving people physically. Let's just switch it a little bit because we still need the resources. We are junkies over the resources in Africa specifically. We still have to get it one way or the other. So they let go of your shackles. Now they came straight to your house, straight to your land. The entire Africa being taken over. By the few places around the world that seem to be overpowering Africans. Why? Because mentally you have already been conditioned to submit. Now they give you the tools to keep you under submission. These tools I'm referring to are the set of instructions, be it constitution, local laws, and policies. I will explain myself. If a constitution said that we, the people, we are all equal under the laws, yet a foreigner comes in, brings in one of your brother, specifically they set him up as your ruler. You have not been consulted. Your elders have not been consulted. They just came and imposed that upon you. Why? Because that one of your brothers or one of your sisters or one of your family members decided to sell out, which is why he or she connected with the foreigners. And the rest of you, the rest of us, we let it be. Making matters worse, they may come in and throw some money at you. Piece of paper. Because of impoverishment, poverty, we take it. And you wonder why in the world, first and foremost, do we have poverty? if my mental capacity to produce is offline, and I've been conditioned to wait for the food that comes from the United States, to wait for the food that comes from Europe somewhere, the food that comes from China. I'm going to be lazy and leave a fertile land in Africa useless, because that land is actually wanted by the same people bringing you food, cheap food, genetically modified food, in exchange for mining our land. And you wonder, who hurt us so bad in the head? Quite frankly, it is not these foreigners. It is ourselves. It is ourselves, guys. So going back to the acceptable sacrifices, how do we turn back the ship around? Because the journey is not over. It is absolutely not over, guys. There's so much that needs to take place. So much. On the continent level. Evidently, it has to happen first and foremost on a national level or country level. And that also has to be broken down into region. And then that also has to literally be sliced down into villages, neighborings or neighborhoods, families, and then you eventually, and I. The changes that we want, the changes that we need, it has to come from me directly and you directly. Which brings us right back to square zero. Why am I talking right now? Why are you listening? Do you really believe that we live in modern slavery? Do you have any notion as to what's been happening for these past 500 years? 600 years? So much has been happening and so much still happens. And there is a plan for another 500 years if we are not careful. So, who among ourselves are going to rewrite a set of instructions that is actually good and right for us, instead of importing everything and do copy and paste? I'll give you quite a good example. The United States Constitution has been duplicated all over the world now, especially in Africa. Copy and paste. And unfortunately, an average person has no idea, no knowledge what it is that they got going on. And you wonder who's doing a disservice to our people. Who's gaining? It is that taking a tool that you're not familiar with and you misuse it, and while you have literally put down your familiar tool that was working for you for so long. Africa was ruling itself beautifully before slavery era. Africa was a huge empire with technology, with everything blossoming. But then wars came, and then a lot of engineers killed. It's so much has gone down. The history is there, guys, even though it's very hard to come by. And here we are right now in 2022. The most wealthiest continent happens to be the poorest on the planet Earth also. It is not by design. It is not by It is not by nature, it's by design for the time being. Which is why this is not acceptable, guys. It is only acceptable because of your head and how you think. And I, for once, I have unplugged, guys. I have disconnected from those thoughts. I know that not only we can do better, we must do better because we are expected to do better. But there is a sacrifice that comes along with this. The sacrifice is what, if I speak in a more practical terms? We only have 24 hours. You could have a family, for example. You have another job. You got to do your job here and then come in and do this job. And then if you have maybe kids and all of that, you got to go attend to that other job. And by the time you're done with, you cooked. You have nothing else to offer. But I just go back to that family that just loved, that loved one through slavery. Regardless whether they've got plantations to, farms to keep, to keep up with, they still have to do what they have to do. That might mean that they may have to sleep 1 hour less, 2 hours less, just to finish up what has to be done. So the sacrifice is what you're going to have to sacrifice time. You're going to have to sacrifice energy. You're going to have to sacrifice your brain. There's so much that must be sacrificed for this war to be won. In order for Africa to take back its full rightful position, every single one of us is going to have to sacrifice. The sooner you realize that, the better. Some of us may have to sacrifice in a much more longer time period than the rest. But it still will not give you a bigger badge that you have sacrificed more than the other guy who just started. It doesn't work like that. And that is why to most of you have been saying, what's the point? What is the point? I get screwed whichever way I do things. That is called the way you've been conditioned. No matter how you look at it, you're pretty screwed. Guys, we're dealing with other human beings, not little gods. There's nothing that's conceived by a human being that you cannot overcome, especially if it is an impediment. Let me repeat, there is nothing you cannot overcome done by another human being, another fellow human being, especially if it is an impediment to you. Why is it that you think that countries like the United States, they continuously say, hey, we're securing our interest in Africa, we're securing our interest in Europe, we're securing our interest in Asia. How is it that your interest goes beyond the boundaries of your own real estate? The audacity to leave your own real estate and you go to someone else's real estate and you're going for your interest there. That is so bold. When all things equal, the same people cannot come in your homeland to secure their own interest. How is it that the United Kingdom can go after its own interest beyond the little real estate that they have? They come into the whole entire Africa and secure their interest by any means necessary, just like the United States. And again, all things equal, it is never the same way. You cannot go to the United Kingdom to secure your own interest as a people. What's wrong with that picture? China. China can actually go beyond its own real estate. Comes all over the world, including specifically Africa, to secure its own interest. Now, it baffles me how everyone else is securing their own interests except you and I. What's wrong with this picture, guys? First and foremost, you are out of position. I am out of position. So it is evidently going to be hard for you to secure your own interests if you're not even in the right position to begin with. And the rest of our brothers and sisters who are in the right positions, they now do not have the capacity. They no longer have the capacity. So there is the waking you up. There is now convincing you, reminding you who you are, and you actually taking back that which is rightfully yours. Because all along you've been conditioned that no, what you need, it's not here. It's far away from there. If it's really far away from there, why is it that the same nations are coming to you? I want you guys to think about it. You are encouraged to leave Africa, to go to Europe, to go to China, to go to the United States. Yet, the same country are coming right back in your homeland. What's wrong with that picture? Think about it, guys. Think about it, especially you young people. If what you need is outside of your homeland, what are these people doing in your homeland? You need to think about that first and foremost. Because ignorant is not bliss, guys. They usually say that ignorant is bliss. But I submit to you, ignorant is death. Ignorant is death. It is not bliss. You choose to be ignorant, you're going to die. Because ignorant would not have any mercy to you. It would not literally wait for you to do the right thing or to catch up with what's happening. Look at the millions of people who are dying like flies, like ants, and nobody cares. Look from the conflicts in the Great Lakes region, specifically from 1990 all the way to today. In my native land, Rwanda, and then in the Great Lakes region. More than 15 million people dead. Zero justice. And do you know the common denominator of all of those things happening? The same nations that all of us, we have found refuge, they're there right now. They've been there. Way even before I was born. And they're still there. And you wonder why is it that they are so adamant in being there. And you are so quickly to get out of there. That's the key. So guys, sacrifice is what? You gotta sacrifice time. You gotta sacrifice your want. You gotta sacrifice the good things that you may want to have momentarily for a long-term stability. You gotta sacrifice a little sleep here and there because there's no other ways about it. And you have to unplug from the system that's subjugating you to be what you are never meant to be. What am I saying? We still have a modern slavery machinery that is well and alive. And you and I, we are feeding it every single day to maintain modern slavery. Guys, the saddest thing about it, the modern slavery, it's no longer in Africa only. It is literally all over the world. But again, because now we're looking specifically African nation, it is up to us to do something about it. It is up to you and I, you brothers and sisters. So how do we exactly stop feeding this modern slavery machinery? How do we do that? Especially if most of us are actually literally in the belly of the machinery. How do you do that? How do you get spit out of the belly of the machinery? This is a question that every single one of you has to answer. You see the time we're spending right now? If it wasn't important enough, we could care less. But also some of you have been asking the most amazing question: to what end? I don't know if you guys have seen the movie The Roots. There's a scene where Kunta Kinte arrives and then say, "Oh, Mungu, Mungu, it's like God." It's like he was just lamenting, "Oh God, what am I gonna do next?" To what end? If a slave master wants to keep you a slave, you're going to have to also want to be free as long as you're alive, especially if on one side the slavery desire continues. You're also going to have to figure out a way to maintain your freedom. And I'm sorry, I don't have a time frame for that. And of course, that's why some of you surrender. But why is it that the United States itself, for example, why is it that it chose to be a republic instead of remaining attached as a colony of the Great Britain? Why did the United States stop the slavery, the subjugation from the United Kingdom? And they chose to determine their own fate. Why is it that you cannot have the same thing? Why can't you not regain the same thing? You've had it. You always have had it. It is still within you. And that is why I'm actually talking right now. You have to be able to self-determine, guys. And you are the one who have to fight for it. You don't have to have a constitution that says those things are guaranteed to you. You already have an internal constitution that says that is naturally yours. That's one of the constitution that I go by today. Before I go on following the rest of the constitution written by men, there is a natural constitution, a natural manual that's already been pre-written for me before I was born. That manual, it's inside of me. It has all guidelines as to how I'm supposed to live on planet Earth from the day I was born until the day I check out. In any conflict with my internal manual to the external set of instructions, of course, it brings frictions. And right now I'm talking because I already feel the friction. And the external manual now, it's actually imposing so much on me. It's imposing so much on you. The most of you, you're like, okay, just leave me alone. I just want to breathe a little bit. Nothing wrong with breathing a little bit. But do not lose yourself in the midst of it. You African have completely checked out. And you have to uncheck out, guys. There's no other ways to tell you about it. Some of our friends, they usually say that most of us, that we, in these nations, we're eating pizza. You're happy eating pizza and French fries, that you no longer think about Africa. As if you didn't have pizza in Africa. As if you never had the most amazing potatoes in Africa. That is how you have been actually belittled to almost nothing. If a potato can make you forget about Africa, we got problems. If clean clothes can make you forget about Africa, we got problems. If a piece of paper called money can make you forget about your own homeland and the issues behind, we have a problem. And until you realize the value of a piece of paper and your own value, it doesn't matter what kind of guidelines they set outside and for you to follow. You are still as lost as anything I can imagine. There is a manual deep within you that overrides everything outside. That manual has every secret about you and everything that you have to do on planet Earth. That's the kind of manual that all the slave masters are afraid of. Because the minute you start listening to it, they no longer matter. They can no longer have anything on you. So they want to make sure, they have to make sure, they've been making sure they do not awaken any channels that reconnects to your inner self. And this is where I come in and I plainly tell you, you've got to reconnect with your inner self. Your inner self is the most legit, the most original way for you to find your true north. Let me repeat, your inner self is the most original way for you to find your true north. What is your true north? Your true north is the true information about you and everything about you and what you're supposed to be doing on planet Earth. From your birth time to your death time. Some of us will spend our whole entire life doing nothing. And I would hope that whatever time you have left, whatever time I have left, we get to maximize it at the very least and reconnect with your inner self. Reconnect with your true north. Because in the end of it, you won't come out of it alive. You've got to die. Literally. As long as you are here, you start the process of exiting. Some of you call it life. It all depends on how you call it, how you see it. But as long as you are born, that's the beginning of the process of you exiting out as well. Anything in between, it's up to you. Whatever you give value, whatever you give your ear to, whatever you give time to, is going to determine what you become. So we have so much sacrifice, guys. We've sacrificed so much. Especially over these past 20 plus years, guys. Look at us, we are children. We were never meant to be here at such early age. Even though I don't believe in accidents. And yet we are still fighting. Now, those of you who just started today, you are tired. Can you imagine how I'm feeling? Can you imagine people who've been doing this for 30 years? Guys, this is not an easy route. Think of that slavery time period. Think about the passage from Africa to what they used to call the New Lands. The one-way ticket to slavery, that your family can never see you again. Right now, you no longer have to travel across the ocean. Now it's all in you. It has found you in your villages. And those who are no longer in your villages, you have found it to its headquarters. Bottom line, it's here. And you got to do something about it. Be it now or later, you got to do something about it. Failure to do that also will yield some other results. No wonder it's taken 600 years for even some of us to realize that something is wrong with this picture. From 1400 to 2022, how many years is that? 622 years to be precise. For more than 600 years, slavery has been well and alive. Do you think that Africa was just a jungle, nothing happening for those 600 years? Do you think that Africans never documented anything and everything that was happening? How is it that you that you have no knowledge over it? Have you heard of the Mali library that's recently been burned down? Do you think it was an accident that a lot of these libraries, ancient libraries, have been deliberately burnt down? We talk about libraries that held thousands and thousands of knowledge, specifically thousands of years of preserved knowledge. Gone. The good news is there's still some hidden libraries. And now, given how the history of who you truly are is purposely being buried, and slave master doesn't want you to know who you truly are, you're going to have some desire for you to want to know that. It is going to be up to you to be thirsty enough to drink the water of who you truly are. Because we no longer have the strength to come and convince you this and convince you that. Certainly, we are super tired, guys. But it doesn't change the fact that modern slavery is here. So however you slice it, at the end of the day, slavery, it's well and alive amongst ourselves. And the question still remains, how do we permanently get rid of it? Africa has the most vibrant young people, the youth, the young population right now. You young people, you must be exposed to what's happening right now. It's like young slaves not even knowing that they are slaves. That is the tragic thing that could happen on the entire continent of Africa. It's like you being a slave and you have no idea that you are a slave. Because the knowledge of slavery, it's being hidden from you right up in the open. There is a movie that came up called The Truman Show. Those of you who have never watched it, watch it. And I'm not doing advertisement or anything. But the reason why I'm bringing in this movie, this kid was given a world that was a manufactured world. His whole life was manufactured. Everybody else except the kid knew about it. Everybody else was an actor in the kid's life. From him being a toddler, a baby, to him growing up. And there became a point when things started adding up, what started not adding up right. Imagine the fear of not knowing what was behind this big movie production. Beyond the boundaries of the film production sphere that they have created for this kid. This kid has been an actor from the day he was born, but he never knew he was an actor. And the show went on for 20 plus years. And the kid never knew, but the minute he found out that he lived an artificial life, it almost destroyed the guy. Between the fear of not knowing who he was, the fear of not knowing the true life beyond the production, lines, it's almost the same thing that you Africans are living today. It is infuriating to see how the United Kingdom says, hell no, you cannot come to our inner land. Yet, not only they are in Africa, they're bringing army, they're bringing everything, and they like literally coming to camp there. And they're not asking you. They're literally coming. It is no wonder the United States, hell no, you cannot come to the United States. Yet, they are literally in every part of Africa. Guys, this is called hypocrisy. You do not want me to come to your house, but you are self-inviting to my house. And the worst part about it, none of you can say, wait. So you are not giving us a welcome to your place, but you have the audacity to come to our place. We're not bold enough to even challenge that. And that's why when I look at it today, I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? Young people, you young Africans, I need you all to look the immigration process in any one of the nations that you would like to come to. Look how difficult it is for you to either get a visa or to be welcomed to any one of the nations. I'll give you an example. Pick up the United States. I'm in the United States. If you're a young kid, you got no job, you haven't gone to school, trying to come to the United States. Say you're maybe coming to New York to hang out for 1 week. It would be almost just a wishful thinking, guys. Why? Because they are afraid that you are coming one way. They are afraid that you're not going to want to leave back. And oftentimes they're not going to give you a welcome. However, they're coming into your country and they're imposing your leaders to give them a free entrance to your nation without even checking what they've got going on. For instance, in Rwanda, most of you don't know, but on May 28th, 2020, Rwanda literally signed, it's like they signed the life of Rwanda to the United States. Today, the United States can come into Rwanda the same way it hangs out to Puerto Rico, the same way it hangs out to any of the annexed territory of the United States. Rwanda is like an extension of the United States. The military and any armed services personnel in the United States can come in and out of Rwanda without being checked. And you wonder, what is the point of having a sovereign country when you're no longer sovereign? Can any Rwandese people dare come to the United States like that? And I will just tell you up front, it's a hell no. It doesn't happen. So why is it okay that it is okay for the United States to come to Rwanda like that, but not the other way around? Guys, you're going to have to deal with these issues all over. There are a lot of deals like this today. And only your brothers and sisters can sell you out to that degree. And those are the same policies. I personally and publicly say that these are lousy policies that we must squash. We must get rid of. We have to unroot from the very bottom of the bottom, because they are not good for you, the people. I always say, if all things equal, apples to apple, would the United States accept the same deal that it gave to Rwanda? Would the United Kingdom accept the same deal that it gave to Rwanda? Recently, when the UK has decided to bring all its illegal immigrants to Rwanda, a nation that is 1/9 of the United Kingdom, way more populated, way more populated than the United Kingdom, yet it still finds another way to squeeze in more people. Minding you right now, Rwanda has its own immigration problems. It has more than 2 million people still outside who have yet to come home. And I'm like, okay, why are you so nice to taking in other people's and you have yet to take care of yourself? Again, it's because of the same leadership that doesn't care about the people. So where do I want to end all of this? What is your role and responsibility, young people? You cannot be tired right now. Fatigue is not an option, I should say it. Because every single one of the slave masters who wants to enslave you does not take a day off from the schemes and the ways to keep you enslaved. And let me repeat for you, in case you didn't get it. Slave masters do not take any days off from scheming any way, shape, and form to keep you enslaved. As long as they're still scheming to enslave you, you still have to do what you gotta do to either unplug or to literally just find your freedom. It's necessary. It's life and death, guys. I told you, I'd rather live 2 days as a free man than living 20 years as a slave. I don't know if you guys are getting it. So those of you who are tired, I understand. So you're going to have to choose. Embrace slavery, just be a slave and die when you're going to die. Or actually fight. Fight for a better life. Fight for a better tomorrow. Fight for your families. Fight for your communities. Fight for your villages. Fight for your nation. Take it back. Take it back. Any single individual who does not belong has to go. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. If the United Kingdom can tell you, hell no, you cannot come, why can't you not be bold enough and say, hell no, you cannot come either? There has to be a point where apples have to be apples. Oranges have to be oranges. Everything has to be on the equal front. And it's up to you to raise the pendulum. You young people, stop taking in the porridge. You can raise your own corn. You can raise your own sardines. You have even better sardines than the little things that they're giving you. You're not kids that they're giving you a little cookie and then you say kumbaya. This world is not taking any prisoners. I want to tell you guys. And this world does not wait for you to catch up with it. If it's been 600 plus years of physical enslavement, and now it's been softly turned into modern slavery where now everything is being done on your homeland instead of you being away from your homeland. How many more years do you think that they're planning to keep that? So start thinking, young people. Start thinking. A message to those of you growing up. We understand you're tired. We understand you've done a whole lot that you could. But today you are a huge impediment to young people. The same fear that you have had. Some of you have been selling out. Some of you are selfish. Some of you do not want to do what you should be doing today. Even if it means that you may consequently terminate your life as a reason. Or as a result, I should say. Some things are better. If you've been a part of the problem, become a part of the solution today before you check out. Bottom line, if you choose to just grab all your problem and throw them to the lap of your children or your grandchildren or your great-great-grandchildren, that's fine. That's something you can do. But that's not what I wish for my children or my grandchildren, my great-great-grandchildren. Whatever issues we have right now, let's deal with them right now. Whatever we can deal with, We accept the fact that we cannot deal with them. But there is no time out for the issues we have to deal with, guys. And that's what I really want to tell you. To how far will you go? As far as it takes, as long as it takes. That's really the answer, guys. So, I am willing to go as long and as far as I have to go to realize the full dominion of my homeland, to realize the full dominion of the region, to realize the full dominion of Africa. If that answers you guys straight. What about you? What about you? And this actually also means this is not just rhetoric. There is action plans, guys. We have to be also active in various projects. Again, slave masters have planned for centuries. What kind of plans do we have today? First and foremost, plans out of this dilemma. And if we don't have one, we gotta get one. And beyond that, we need a plan to rebuild also. To make Africa great again. It is already great, but it has to materialize. We still have it within ourselves. Because we are the original. We don't have to go looking for somewhere else. We already have it. But you gotta sweat for it. You gotta cry for it. And you have to take it in for what it is. Who's with me on that journey? Because that's where we're headed right now. So when you guys see us every single day and you think that we are useless, or you believe like, okay, you got nothing else to do, just I want you guys to remember what it takes to put together all of this. There's an army of young men and women behind. Technical side, financial side, marketing side. There's so much involved into you seeing this production. There's so much involved into you guys seeing one little project in and one little project there. It seems small during the execution, but it's massive when it's being put together. When we get sick, we don't stay home unless we cannot talk. Because we are at war. You don't get a day off when the bullets are flying, guys, just in case. Especially for those of you who've never been in warfares. You don't get a timeout. You don't get a break when there is a fight. Ask the people in Ukraine right now. They do not get a break. If there is sharing, there is sharing. They don't say to the other guy, excuse me guys, I need my 30 minutes of lunch. I need my 15 minutes of a quick break. Hell no. When I say the world is ugly, it's ugly, guys. And I'm not talking about the earth. Earth is beautiful. I'm talking about the leadership. The people leading the lifestyles that they want to bring about. The systems governing on earth are ugly. And these are the systems that we have to uproot and replace them with better systems that are good for us, that are going to nurture us. And that's why I'm talking right now. And that's why we do what we do every day. And that's why we are so worn out. Fatigue, sleepless nights. We don't hang out with families. Most of us, we have no life. Because we made a decision to pursue this thing. So even with you, don't you think that you're going to go to war and then you get a chance to go and hang out with your family 24/7? It's not possible. Ask soldiers on the battlefield. You cannot be on the battlefield and also hang out with your family, hang out with your wife, hang out with your kid, hang out with your husband. It's just not doable. It's not possible. But the most important thing, why is it that you're doing what you're doing? Because the why has to be bigger enough for it to propel you when you're losing hope, when you're losing strength, when you want to give up and quit. Because this sucks, guys, I gotta tell you. For 20 plus years we've been at it, guys. I'm a young man. I've been into this for more than 20 years. So just because you see us right now, doesn't mean we just started. That's a full disclosure. So what could 20 years of me doing what I wanted to do look like? I spent 20 years in public, doing public work, along with so many other colleagues. And I'm wondering, what would it be like if we were doing our own thing? But quite frankly, I couldn't have had it any other ways. But also, someone that I admire and love so much has asked me, what's the end game here? What is the end game at the end of the day, Freeman? At what point do you check out? Do you actually cut your losses? Do you have any measurable goals? Do you have any benchmarks over times? Because you need them to. You need to. Otherwise, this is not sustainable. And it made me wonder, what was the end game for these past 600 plus years? Millions have died. Millions continue to die. And I refuse to accept that other fellow human beings can be so adamant in enslaving you and enslaving me because they think that they're better than you and I. And then I get to surrender and you get to surrender and kumbaya. I refuse to take that, guys. I was born free. I was given the name Freeman. Bikorwa, Singirankabo. All my three names, they are prophetic names, for the lack of a better word. And I leave my name. My names are my life. And the more I grow, the more I understand. A name is a being. I don't know if you guys understand what that means. So much of the things that we do, it is life. For me, this is life. This is not a job. Because if it was a job, I would have quit already. I would have been out already. But there's a sacrifice that comes along with what we do. Every single day, guys. It's not easy. And it's not for everyone. Nevertheless, I am asking you that if you're coming to the fight, come all the way, guys. And if you're not coming, just be out. Enjoy your other life until then. Because it is very difficult to babysit someone when you are under fire. Just think about how wrong it is for you to bring a baby in the middle of a war zone. Think about you shooting and then you have to worry about a kid that you brought on the battlefield. I mean, you just gotta be an irresponsible parent or guardian for you to have the audacity to bring a kid in the middle of a war zone. What if accidentally a bullet hits that kid? So that's very irresponsible. So what am I saying? Detach yourself from all obligations. Focus on one thing and one thing only. If you want to fight, get in the war. Study the war, know where you are, get the strategies, have everything in place and focus. If you got those babies, give the babies to the mother, give the babies to your neighbors, give the babies to your family members. But do not bring the babies on the war front, because that baby might get harmed. And then you might get yourself messed up mentally, because now you got the guilty behind this kid dying, that you could have done this and that and that and that. All along, you could have decided to keep the baby away. But you're trying to do two things simultaneously, thinking that you're a Superman when you're truly not a Superman. So what am I saying to you guys? And that's where I'm going to end this message with. I appreciate all of you guys who said that you are tired. This is a never-ending thing. I want you to think about slavery. I want you to think about your loved one being kidnapped and you never see them again, only to find out that they are on the other side of a planet, being enslaved by somebody else. But now I don't even want to go far away on the other side of the planet. Slavery now has came right in your mainland. And it's being brought by the same people who used to take you far away from, away from the ocean, miles and miles away from the ocean. Now they are bold enough to come to your mainland. They're coming to enslave you on your mainland. And you are still asleep. And you are still conditioned not to fight back. And you are still conditioned to say, yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. To what end are you going to let this happen? You as the king and queens of your own homeland, you have to determine, you have to decide the fate of your family, the fate of your kingdoms. You decide to be slaves for life, and so be it. But if you get the revelation that you are born free, you have a real estate and a responsibility, not only to protect it, to nurture it, and to make it better than where you found it, or than the way you have found it, than the way it was entrusted to you. You're going to have to fight like hell. And you're going to have to purge everything that does not belong on the mainland. No exceptions. And you will know what doesn't belong there. Because it's not going to take longer. It won't take hard to find it. So what am I saying? There is no negotiation in some things, guys. I do not negotiate with slavery. I'm sorry. It's quite clear and cut through for me. If you don't want to be a slave to nobody, why do you want to enslave me? Why do you want to enslave my family, my community, my nation? So until that deal is rethought of, you got to rethink of that same deal you're giving me or you're giving my peoples. Until you want to be enslaved, don't bring slavery to our homeland. This is why we're talking publicly. This is why we have to take action. And those of you who cannot take the heat in the kitchen, please go in the living room. Because this is not a funny game. This is not funny. Lives are perishing. Millions of lives are permanently perishing. And because you are slaves, you don't matter. Because you are slaves, nobody cares. And those who are supposed to care are dead. So, what are you going to do? How far will you go to take back what is rightfully yours? How far will you go to take your true inheritance? Your true inheritance, the one you don't have to beg for, the one you do not have to pay back for or to repay back for, it is yours. How far will you go? How far will you fight for it? How far are you going to go to protect it? And that's where I want to leave that with. Guys, that's my time for today. I want to thank you all. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve you. This is not easy, guys. We are in the most tumultuous time, in the most difficult time, but in the most exciting time. I submit to you guys, we are waking up. You must wake up because you live in a slavery era, what they call modern slavery. You're no longer in shackles, but your mental capacity has been enslaved. You are still mentally enslaved. The same people who were enslaving you physically, now they are continuously enslaving you mentally. But you are doing a whole lot to help them out. So, you are the biggest culprit. You are the biggest culprit right now. And you got to be the first and foremost person who has to unplug and stop aiding and abetting slave masters. You're doing a whole lot of it first and foremost. Minding you. These nations, they have their own real estate. They have came across the ocean to your own real estate. And you've given them a huge branch arm of olive. And you also have given them some territory. They came over there. Now they say, you know what? We're seeking of our own interest. And by the way, we're here to stay. And we're not asking you, we are telling you. And until you decide that that deal is not a right deal, it's only going to be right if they can reciprocate the same thing. As long as they cannot reciprocate, you have a right answer. If they cannot reciprocate the same deal they're giving you, then there's no deal. That's where I stand with that. Until you learn how to respect yourselves, nobody's going to respect you. If they tell you that you're a slave and you accept that you're a slave, you're always going to be a slave until then. So guys, that's my time for today. Please give us some feedbacks as to what you think of the program today. I am sorry this is not one of those mambo jumbo very happy stories to talk about, because we just don't have time for those things right now, guys. There's far more other conversation, far more other pressing things to discuss, because we're running out of time, guys. And it is my hope and desire that you guys own up. So please leave us some feedback at info@Afro-Dominion.com or go to the website www.Afro-Dominion.com. I'm Freeman Singirankabo here at Afro-Dominion. I wish you all a super fantastic day. God bless, guys. And until tomorrow, so long for now.